With many years of political and economic hardship, with the US dollar comfortably gaining strength against South Sudanese pound, mounting pressure on the positions of whoever is appointed as the governor of the Bank of South Sudan and of the Minister of Finance and Planning. Their stay in those offices remains unpredictable and always exposed to the effectiveness of the appointing authority that continuously want positive direction. This has always required an exceptional performance as well as an extra result in terms of paperwork. Today, we shall speak to the 9th Governor of the Bank of South Sudan, Dr. James Alic Garang, to enhance his plans for economic transformational agenda in coordination with other financial institutions. Dr. Garang, during his appointment, stated that he would transition the institution from its debilitating and obvious economic status to a modern bank. Dr. James Alic is currently the governor of the Bank of South Sudan. He holds a PhD in economics from the University of Massachusetts in 2014. He has masters in economics and he also has Bachelor of Science in Economics with honors. He's also a former Deputy Dean of Faculty of Economics and Social Studies at Upper Nile University and senior economist with the Ebeni Center for Strategic Studies. And he is senior advisor to the executive director at the IMF Executive Board in Washington. Dr. James is a co-founder and scholar at the Suits Institutes. His areas of interest includes microeconomic, development economics, financial sector, and financial inclusion. He has in the past participated in host of academic and professional undertakings, including internship at the African Development Bank in Tunisia, as a lead evaluator on the banking sector during the comprehensive evaluation of the government of South Sudan 2009 to 2010, a consultant with the World Bank 2013 to 2014, and a board member serving as a member of charitable organizations and academic affiliation. So, Honorable Governor, welcome to SSBC PowerHouse with AKuch Maker.
Thank you, AKuch, for welcoming me.
You have just assumed your office duties recently. What are your strategies and plans toward addressing dollar crisis disparities in market prices?
During my welcoming, I indicated both to the staff of the bank and to the general public, the leader leading this institution, along with my team, that will focus on modernizing the central bank and at the same time achieving our mandate, and that is the price stability. That modernizing the central bank rests on a number of pillars. One of those is to ensure that there's a greater clarity of goals and autonomy in what we do, that we will focus on effective communication, something that the media and the rest of us in our respective institutions should embrace and move toward, and that we will also focus on modernizing the bank in the sense of strengthening our capacity to deliver. Now, you have gone back to indicate areas where our economy has been weakened over the last years. There are a number of ways in which we think we can stabilize the currency market. We will have, right at the moment, we have a number of instruments, but as the new team coming in, we are now developing a strategy in the bank, and that strategy will be used toward, it will contribute toward our economic transformation agenda. And with that, we will continue to remain engaged with flexible exchange rate, which we know is that it can absorb both shocks and any adverse headwind. We will also remain committed to intervening in the market from time to time, and at the same time increased the amount, the weekly amount, because right now we have sufficient reserves that we can put toward that. But along that, there are other instruments that we're going to add to stabilize the market. One of those is the use of treasury bills. In this case, instead of the Minister of Finance coming to central bank to borrow, they can definitely borrow that from the commercial institution. So this is one instrument that has been used in the past, around 2014, 2015. But then we came to stop it because of one reason or another. So that's one thing that we are going to reactivate it. We are also going to work on central bank securities. And the third instrument is what we have, the term deposit. It is working, but we would like to see it picking up a speed. And finally, this is going to be a cross-cutting area between the bank and the other economic organ, especially the Minister of Finance. That will be investing in other economic sectors, especially in agriculture. Central bank cannot invest directly, but this is an area that we will support. And the minister is very keen in supporting agriculture. So we believe by regularly intervening in the market, we can stabilize the price, but at the same time, supporting investment in the productive sector, such as agriculture, we will stabilize prices.
So how do you intend to invest in agriculture? Will you give loan to the business owners or to the commercial banks, or how are you going to invest in agriculture?
Investment does not have to be one institution or one person. If we are to lift all boats, we have to invest at all levels of our economic sector. The central bank can play a role in mobilization by encouraging the commercial institution to lend to small businesses. That is a private aspect of it. But from the government side of it, the government has a number of levels where it can also lend. When there are cooperatives, and I'm sure there are plans, including an association of microfinance, which is currently in progress. That is one area where the government can inject liquidity and expect them to lend. So that's one level. The other level is the direct lending to mechanized farmers. Government can do that by injecting some resources into one of the commercial banks and expect them to lend to the public.
During reception, you said that you would turn the Bank of South Sudan into a modern bank. Can you elaborate on your plans and the challenges you may face along the way?
There are a number of positives that are already taking place, and there are a number of hopeful signs that are already in the horizon. And so one aspect of modernizing a central bank is the need for us to strengthen our supervisory capacity to enable efficient and execution of our mandate. Our mandate is price stability. But there are a number of steps that we have to take to arrive at price stability. One is our resort to strengthening the capacity of our workforce. One aspect of it is communication, like I said earlier. The other aspect is our autonomy, having independence on what we do. So at the moment, before I came, the bank has taken steps to engage our neighbors in the region, Kenya, for example. And when we went for the annual meeting in Morocco, we were able to engage our colleague from the region, Central Bank of Kenya and Uganda and Rwanda. And one of those is our attempt to strengthen supervisory capacity of the regulators. That's one. The other area where we think that we can arrive at attaining this goal of modernizing a central bank is in the area of drawing experience from other central banks, both from emerging economies and even advanced economies. We believe that a modern central bank should also be the one that engage in encouraging innovation. And in this case, it will be a focus for us. It will be a robust aspect to economic growth. The last one that I need to add here is that a modern central bank invests in digital technology. Today, if you go to Kenya or Uganda or Rwanda, they have this other aspect, M-Pesa, for example. And here in South Sudan, we have a number of mobile financial services, such as AKuch, for example, Nile Pay, Capital Pay, Momo. So in our attempt, we will invest in digital technology as the bank. This is within the mandate of the bank. But we know that government, central bank, does not do these things in isolation. So we will make the environment conducive for the commercial institution, both to innovate, produce, and improve the living standard. The last point that I need to add is that the banking sector is very critical, both in the investment of mobile technology and in the provision of financial services. So in this case, we will encourage them to promote market discipline and adopt best practices that will help us in risk management and ensure good governance across the board.
It has been a decade since the dollar rises against South Sudanese pound, what the economists call floating rate. Do you think the equation will ever balance?
No, there's never a need to balance any equation in the economy. Remember, there's what economists call a circle flow diagram. What comes in is what determines what goes out. At any time, at any day, at any month, there are fluctuations in the economy. So these are what we refer to as business cycles. So there are times where the economy is overheating. So you see production taking places, prices are rising, there is full employment, the economy is at full growth, and everybody is happy, it is blissful. And there are certain times there that we call downturns or fluctuations. So those fluctuations happen when there's a loss in confidence, business confidence, and the market thinks that things are going in the opposite direction. This is not an anomaly that is only specific to South Sudan. It is global, it is a worldwide phenomenon. But in our situation, the war that we had in 2013, and before that, the oil shutdown in 2012, brought a dent to the market confidence. But what I can definitely tell the viewers and the market participants is that starting in August 2021, our market has been stabilizing. If you go and look at the exchange rate, not just the exchange rate, but more broadly, look at the CPI and our inflation rate, you will see that our inflation over time has been following a deflationary trend. It has been coming down. Of course, there has been a pressure on the exchange rate depending on season. Sometime around Christmas and January, we know that there's a pressure. And depending on certain month, let's say, for example, when we are paying salaries. But the good thing is that this up and down are not permanent. They can change. So what I really want to add is that there are factors that affect the exchange rate. So we will not expect the equation to be permanent or to be resolved or to be one. We always expect up and down. But this up and down should be a bit stable. And that's what we are going to do. The factors that we have put in place since August 2021 are those that are aimed to enable us to have stability. But we should never expect that we should never see any jumps in the market. Just go in the region. Go to the US. Go to Europe. Go to Australia. Go anywhere in the world. You will see that prices are rising. And the last point that I need to say here is that it's not only our currency that has been having this pressure against the dollar. It's across the board. But we are confident that what we have seen for the last 2 years, our inflation is trending down, our prices are stabilizing. But for now, this leadership under leading the central bank is confident that with the institutions, with the reform that we'll be putting in place, we will stabilize and even hope to see the exchange rate moving in the opposite direction and not in the upward trend.
The bank has been auctioning dollars and there are no changes in the economic reforms. Are you going to continue with the same auctioning?
Yes, we will continue with the same auction, but let me qualify my yes. I asked you again earlier that if you do your homework, Ours is not a purely floating exchange rate. We have a managed float. And most countries in the region conduct their monetary policy under this regime called managed float. So if you just let the market decide, it can be too crazy. It can go to places where you don't expect it to go. So to tame the market, to keep it down, to restrain it, central banks are expected from time to time to inject liquidity in the market. So in our situation, I can say yes, we will continue to intervene in the market on regular basis. But here's the addition that I can also promise. One, the oil prices are going up. As a result, we will be having sufficient foreign reserves. And in that case, our weekly allocation would pick up, would increase. So that's one I can promise. To stabilize the exchange rate, you don't just need to intervene, there are other instruments. And one of those, I said earlier, is the treasury bills. We are going to reduce the treasury bill. We are also going to work on bank securities. And the third is our term deposit, which is already in practice, but it's something that we're going to pick up. So in our toolkit, we'll not just have excess intervention in the market, we'll have this other instrument that we will use to stabilize the market.
As that auctioning goes to the rightful people?
Yes, it does. The expectation is that we sell or we auction to authorized dealers. Not anyone just can come and participate in the currency market, but we expect that we auction or sell to authorized dealers. And the intention is that for them to lend to those who have demand for dollars. And our demand for dollars are known, not just in South Sudan, but across the board. Sometimes you need dollars so that you can purchase medical equipment abroad. Sometimes you need dollars so that you can purchase productive equipment abroad, machinery, and those things. So at the moment, we think that the AKuch are going to authorize dealers, and they are lending to the public. But we will not stop there. We will not stop there. I told you earlier that we are working on a strategy, bank strategy, which will enable us to move toward economic transformation. And one of those will be for us to reorganize the foreign exchange market, to reorganize even those that we see selling AKuch on the street. We will ensure that they are reorganized into windows, the roadside sellers. Because as you go to Juba today, you see them everywhere. This is one thing that the bank is working on. So we believe that the AKuch is going to the right sources. But if there are loopholes in our bank strategy, we are going to roll that out. So today I will not be comprehensive, but we look forward to engaging you in future.
Dear viewer of SSBC, PowerHouse is taking a short break. Stay tuned. This is PowerHouse with AKuch Maker. This program is focusing on political affairs, developments such as road, education, economic, environment, and current affairs. The program shall speak to specialists, analysts, and prominent personnel. You can also follow us on our social media platform, Twitter at PowerHouse, Facebook, and Instagram at PowerHouse. Dear viewer of SSBC, welcome to PowerHouse with AKuch Maker. We are still here with Honorable Governor of the Bank of South Sudan, Dr. James Alic Garang, with us in the studio. So, Honorable, what, in your opinion, was the biggest monetary policy mistakes in the inflation that has resulted to dollar rising against South Sudanese pounds?
I would not call it a policy mistake, but I would call it an external factor. The war that happened in 2013 and 2016 destabilized the economy and led to worsening of macroeconomic indicators. We saw around 2016, 2017, the inflation shooting upward in a direction that we do not want. we saw prices going up. We saw the exchange rate on opposite direction. We saw our balance of payment in another direction. We saw the growth in another direction. All these things were in a negative territory. What happened in 2015, what other people would think was a mistake, economists would think that is not a mistake. The realignment or the adjustments in 2015, most economists who would look into this would know that you only keep your currency fixed if you have sufficient reserves so that you can intervene from time to time if there's a demand from public. But around 2015, we were in a situation where it became so difficult to maintain the fixed or the fixed currency. And so the Bank of South Sudan, with the consultation of the leadership, decided to go to plot the currency. And of course, when you plot your currency, the market forces will always determine the direction. But there's the policy intervention. And that's why the government, through the central bank, we intervene in the market from time to time. So I can say the mistake that was made is one that is mostly external, and that is the war that happened.
The small South Sudanese note has lost its value. What can you say about that?
I can say, yes, that is a correct observation. But we're not just putting up our hands and giving up. As we move toward stabilizing prices, bringing inflation down, it means that the need for larger notes would diminish, and the need for smaller notes would pick up. So I can again say, in our transformation agenda, there are a number of things that we are going to highlight. And one of those is stabilizing prices, but ensuring that all notes which are legal tender in South Sudan are usable. So our public should use them again.
Governor, you recently attended the International Monetary Fund's annual meetings in the Moroccan city of Marrakech, focusing on enhancing global financial stability, eradicate poverty, and achieving inclusive economic growth. How can this country achieve that?
Usually there are three goals, in three macroeconomic goals, which every government pursues. They include full employment, price stability, and job creation. But to achieve those, usually you have to make your macro environment conducive, make business environment conducive, and then also address social indicators such as poverty, for example, and inequality. For the case of South Sudan, one of our mandate is price stability. But we also support, in our policy intention, we support the government to achieve full employment. So poverty is one area that the government has focused on in this country, but more efforts can be made. So when we stabilize prices, we'll definitely support full employment, and as a result, that will be a way to support poverty eradication. But I can say South Sudan does not live in isolation. So whatever happens at the global level, sometimes also can affect us at home. So at the global level today, there are a number of policies that are in place, some of which are very positive for us, some of which we are also supporting. So, for example, take the issue of climate change. South Sudan is not a big emitter. We don't emit big greenhouse gases, but we are vulnerable to spillovers. So as a result, last year, the government put in place a strategy to work with our donors to resolve this issue of flooding, for example, is one of those. Desertification is coming up north. So these are areas where the government is keen aware and will be working with partners to address and to mitigate effects from climate change and flooding. So I can say reducing poverty, reducing inequality, resolving inflation, these are collective action. One country cannot do them. So one recommendation that came from the meeting is our collective need to invest in global cooperation. And South Sudan being a member of the international community, we also pledge to do our best.
So one of the roles for the Bank of South Sudan, or central bank rather, is to regulate the commercial banks. Are we doing that in South Sudan?
Yes, our banking, we are the regulator, and within the regulatory bodies, there are units that are responsible for that, and at the moment I can say they are doing their best. But always we can improve. So as we come in, we'll do two things. We'll build on what has worked, we'll pick up and correct what has not worked. So if there are areas that you know of that are not working, please tell them to me and we'll work on those.
All right, thank you, Honorable. So the previous governors promised to improve the welfare of the staff, which never saw a clean bill of health. So what do you think can make you unique and more remembered?
Improving staff welfare is not a role of the governor alone. It is a collective responsibility. Improving welfare of the staff does not mean that the governor, like I said, I would have looked back and say, these are the people whose welfare need to be improved, and I am out of those. Improving welfare means all of us, those leading and those led. So it's a collective responsibility. So what we'll do collectively, we will improve the work environment. That starts with the work hours, for example, the workstation. We will also try to reduce the burden on the staff, and that means we're moving toward automating key functionalities of the bank to create efficiencies. Because when you automate, you reduce the work pressure. That will be one way to improve the staff welfare. We'll be currently reviewing the pay structure and try to adjust in areas where we think there's a need to encourage the staff with an aim to enhance productivity and output. We believe that as the new governor with my team, we'll work to cultivate the culture of collective spirit and advance corporate excellence. And finally, one aspect to improve staff welfare is also to improve their health, because we know that health is wealth. So as a result, we will look into their medical conditions and improve on those. So those are the areas where I know past governors have worked on. They have done a number of excellent job. We will pick up on those and improve on areas where they have not made an inroad.
What is your message of hope to the people of South Sudan, as so many people are expecting you to make some changes in this sector?
I think the message of hope has already come from our people. Since 2018, they have laid down their weapons and they are now implementing peace agreement. The message of hope that I see from the political front is this attempt to work toward completing the transition, and that is the need to end with an elections at some point. So those are the political front. But from the economic front, from the monetary policy where we sit, we can be frank to our people to say that reform is a painstakingly lengthy process. It takes time and hard work, and therefore we expect the public to be responsive as we embark on the journey of the reform. I talked earlier about that at the moment, in the next few weeks, both at the bank and at the Ministry of Finance will roll out our reform strategy. Part of that is going to be painful. Certain reforms are painful. So the one hope that I expect from our public is to know that reform takes time, it is difficult, but at the end of the day, we will have the light at the end of the tunnel. The second thing that I need to add here, which is also part of the hope, is that we would like to challenge our people and encourage them collectively. Let us roll up our sleeves and do the needful. let us also encourage the local businesses in producing. We cannot just import. We should also export. By producing, they can meet the basic needs and at the same time scale up production across different sectors, not just in the oil, but also in agriculture, in the mining industry, and across the board. So I can say that every cloud has a silver lining, and with this, we have the utmost trust in our people to do the right thing. We'll bring forward the reforms, but we'll need their support. And with their support, with their trust, we can move the mountain, and we believe we're going to move the mountain.
A view of SSBC PowerHouse has come to an end. Today we were hosting the Governor of the Bank of South Sudan, Dr. James Alic Garang, who has been discussing on his plans for economic transformational agenda. So for now we are done, and stay tuned for the rest of the programs that are coming up.